makes their way off of the final corner, and they will accelerate to see the green flag as we are racing here in Toronto, and Santi Urrutia gets a fantastic jump. He'll grab the lead into turn number 1 with Pato O'Ward second, possibly a little wheel banging there between Tielitz and Norman for third. Tielitz grabs that third spot, Norman slips to fourth, Kellett to fifth as they race to turn 3.
Things got pretty interesting there, running 3, 4, 5. Now they get interesting up towards the front because suddenly Santi Urrutia gets business to the outside. It's Pato O'Ward, but he'll tuck tightly in behind that number 5 machine. Tielitz and Norman are right there. 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 3.
Yep, they stay that way. Little right-hander, and again, they'll tackle that curving to the bottom side, almost with the entire left side of that car. The vehicle steps out a little bit on Santi Urrutia, but he maintains about a half a car length advantage over Pato O'Ward as they exit turn number 7.
A lot of slipping and sliding for that second place running car of Pato O'Ward as he was not able to stay in the tire tracks of Santi Urrutia, although Urrutia locks him up a bit into turn number 8. That's allowed Aaron Tielitz to close right up on the rear wing of Pato O'Ward on this opening lap. A clean start, though, Parker, for these 6 drivers out of the track now.
Very clean start. I was surprised. You know, turn 1 is quite intimidating as a driver. You want to challenge the brake zone, but at the same time, it's pretty easy to try and go 2 by 2 there. The exit closes up, and you can hit the wall quite easy, Nick.
And now we do see Colton Herta has joined the field as well in the 7th position, about a half a lap behind. Meanwhile, though, the leader, Santi Urrutia, heads to turn number 3.
Santi Urrutia had said that he knew Pato O'Ward would be coming at the outset of this race, and indeed, Pato O'Ward again going to try to take a look to the outside, but again, Urrutia closes the door. Tielitz had to lock him up. He managed to hold off Ryan Norman. They again are single file.
More on this strategy involving Colton Herta. Nick, the points hit would be 16 for Colton. If there's no attrition in this race, that's the difference when you tumble down to the 7th position. It pays 14, whereas it pays 30 to win. So certainly a gamble, but again, some double points paying opportunities coming up in the not-too-distant future as we chase the championship.
Boy, Steve, it is a fascinating gamble, though, because he is right there in the championship hunt. I think I misspoke. It was 8 points the disadvantage to Pato O'Ward entering this race.
Yeah, it's a really interesting strategy by that team, but it's looking at the long game. It's looking at the health of the driver. It's looking at being able to make it to the next round. You know, you don't want to end up, you know, having an issue in today's race and not being able to finish.
Yeah, these street course events are just so unforgiving. And for young Colton Herta, he has already had, as we talked about, 3 different incidents. And now we see Colton Herta has brought that car, Rob Howden, to pit lane.
Indeed, Nick. Herta brings the number 98 machine into pit lane here right now, the Deltro Energy car. I'm thinking that maybe they just wanted to get out and run a couple of laps, get those laps done, put them in the books, and of course get an opportunity to get 7th place points at this point. Colton has brought the car in here. At this point, no urgency to get him out. They're going to bring the cockpit cooler in, the fan in for him to put it in here. They're going to get the umbrella out as well, guys. You know, with the injury, they may just figured, you know what, let's get out there, bang a couple of laps, get the points, and move on to Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, certainly don't want to speculate. I hope we'll get a chance to talk to Colton Herta and really kind of tie a bow on this whole situation. He's a race car driver, though, Parker. You know that if he felt good, he'd be out there racing. There's no doubt about it.
You know that, Nick. And honestly, he drove yesterday with one hand. It's incredible that he got as far as he did in that race with one hand. I don't think the fans at home know how hard it is to drive these Indy Lights cars.
And Dave, first, you've got eyes on another driver who has just taken that car to pit lane. That's Victor Franzoni.
Yeah, it's obviously been a very frustrating weekend for Victor Franzoni, who just brought that Soul Red Mazda number 23 for Uncos Racing back here to pit road. And just like the Herta situation, no sense of urgency whatsoever. In fact, Victor's looking over his shoulder at Ricardo Uncos, who's on the radio. It looks like, you know, again, they may just bank a couple of laps and consider it a done afternoon, although Victor does continue to sit inside the cockpit, but again, no sense of urgency. These guys might be here the rest of the afternoon.
And Steve, we'll certainly turn our attention back to the front of the field as we got a pretty good three-way battle for the lead here in a moment. But now for the Andretti Steinbrenner crew, the thought process would be, hey, can Colton Herta go out and turn a couple more laps to jump Franzoni for some valuable points?
Yeah, I was just sitting here watching that and going, well, there might be a chance for Colton to pick up another couple points, and that's the, yeah, now we've heard that Victor Franzoni is out of the car, so I wouldn't be shocked to see that number 98 go back on track and be able to pick up a couple more points.
Gosh, this has just been a bizarre weekend here in Toronto for the Indy Light Series presented by Cooper Tires. Meanwhile, front three, nice little breakaway. Jake Query as the leader said to you.
Urrutia continues to lead. This time Franzoni pops right where he does. Takes a look to the inside. Excuse me, not Franzoni. Obviously Pato O'Ward. Not able to make that move is Pato O'Ward. Aaron Thielitz running third. Then again back before Ryan Norman in fourth.
And with one of the championship contenders falling by the wayside in Colton Herta. Don't know how aggressive Pato O'Ward necessarily needs to be, Nick. No question the fact that if he has an opportunity to pass, he's going to do so.
All right, let's follow up on a couple of these storylines. We'll start with Dave first on pit lane.
Yep, and here with Slick Vic, Victor Franzoni, who's climbed out of the car. The plan for you was what?
No, I'm having the worst weekend of my life, I think. And yesterday I had a crash, and I couldn't crash this year. And I didn't have the money to pay the crash yesterday. And today in the quali I tried to push, but I was just thinking about crash again. If I crash again, I'm gonna be broke for the rest of my life. I don't have money to pay the crash. And then I stopped on quali, and it was the same thing in the race. We tried again, but I'm not feeling good. My mind's not good for the weekend. And I think the best option for me was to stop, because was the best option. I'll keep racing. I'm gonna keep going the week and the year, but we need to find some money. And this was a difficult situation. We knew what we expected in the year, and but it was not happening. And this time, unfortunately, I had the crash, and yeah, it is what it is. Life sometimes is not good for us, and I had my weekend.
This is a very mature move. Obviously, it's a very expensive sport, too. So I know you'd love to be in the car, but how difficult is this for you personally?
It's difficult because I wanted to be racing. I knew even starting from last I could race, but at the same time I can break my life for the rest of my life. I'll be owning Rick and the team for the rest of my life, and sometimes we need to be smart. And if I was extremely fast and I was with a really good mind, I would keep racing this race. But I wasn't feeling well. I was thinking about the crash. I couldn't focus on the right thing. So I think at least I could think and be a little bit smart and stop. Sometimes you have to.
Crazy how this sport works, isn't it? Sometimes you come off a win a couple of weeks ago, now you're in this situation.
Yeah, motorsport's like one day you're a hero, the other day you're a zero. But it's something that we have to learn. It's the same thing for everyone in the life. A lot of people, they have a business one day, they have a lot of money, next day they can break. And it's the same thing. It's a business. And today, unfortunately, my business went down.
We will see you though at Mid-Ohio, correct?
Yeah. I'll keep doing the season, and I'm still looking for money. I'm looking to go to IndyCar next year, so the fight never stops. It's just I think was the smartest decision for the moment.
We look forward to seeing you at Mid-Ohio. Hang in there, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, Victor Franzoni, you can't see it obviously, this is a radio broadcast, but there's a lot of emotion in Victor Franzoni's eyes as he wishes so hard he could be out there racing and competing this afternoon, but financially it's just not going to happen. Further down pit road, Rob Howell.
Yeah, you know what, Dave, first a tough one there for Victor Franzoni. We watched him come up the entire ranks of the Mazda road to Indy. Didn't have the money even to run Pro Mazda last year. Of course, Jeff Green stepping in to support him in his route to win the championship. Of course, Jeff Green losing his life here in Canada up at Mosport, Canadian Tire Motorsport Parks a couple of weeks ago. That gutted, of course, the whole team, and Victor, who was good friends with Jeff Green, he turned around and was able to win at Road America, but man, the funding, always very tough. Standing by here right now with Brian Herta. Brian, of course, this track very treacherous. It obviously hurt Victor Franzoni in his budget, but it also hurt Colton and the injured wrist, the approach coming into this particular race just to get a couple of laps so you can get those points. You sent him back out to get at least enough laps to get ahead of Victor Franzoni, a couple more points in the championship.
It's tough, you know. These kids are all, they're all driving for their careers, and that's the great thing about the road to Indy. But it's heartbreaking too, for Franzoni, for all these kids, that they're trying to be the next guys in IndyCar, and they're not all going to make it there. And that scholarship goes a long way, so they're all fighting pretty hard for it. For Colton's case, he broke his thumb yesterday in qualifying. He's been trying to gut it out. He just can't hang the wheel. He can't hang onto the wheel, so he's just going to run a few more laps and try and get as many points as he can. I'm proud of him. He's such a tough kid. He wants to be out there. He's actually mad at me because we won't let him race. But you know, he just can't physically. He just can't. So you know, regroup, get him the best doctors. We'll be back strong.
You know, Brian, one of the things about this Road to Indy series and this kind of level of motorsports is we really do push these young drivers to challenge themselves more than they would have if they weren't in the race car. That's, I think, one of the great side benefits of being a race car driver coming through the Road to Indy. You find out the mettle of these young kids, and of course, you, as already said, you're very proud of Colton. He has developed so much in the last couple of years. You must be a very proud father.
Yeah, I mean, the driving part, yeah, but proud of who he is, proud of the character he has. You know, I'm proud that he didn't give up, and he won't give up. And you know, I had to be the parent today and step in and say, look, you know, we're going to do the smart thing, but you know, he'll be back.
Thanks for the time, Brian. Colton Herta rolling in front of me here. Nick Yeoman, who's number 98, got just enough laps to be able to get ahead of Victor Franzoni in the points. That'll lock a couple more markers up for him. Doesn't want to lose too much ground to Pato O'Ward here in Toronto. When they get back to Mid-Ohio, that wrist will be braced and ready to go. We are setting up for a fantastic championship battle all the way through to the very end. But as Brian Herta said, so proud of his young man. And that's what we see from all these young drivers come up through the Mazda Road to Indy. The challenges they face, the adversity that they have to get through. When they get out of this Road to Indy, they are different people. They're stronger people for the challenge itself.
Thank you so much, Rob Howden. Great hustle by you and Dave First, getting both of those interviews. As boy, Steve, sometimes it's the storylines off the racetrack that can dwarf the on-track activity, and that those two interviews right there kind of sum it all up. I mean, that's the misfortunate side of motorsports of what young Victor Franzoni's facing right now.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's really unfortunate. He had a lot of help from Jeff Green in the past, and that is not happening right now, unfortunately, because we lost Jeff. And it's going to be tough for Victor to keep going, moving forward. You know, he's a scholarship winner, but you have to still find a little bit of money, and it's an expensive sport, as Parker's well aware. And those crashes start to add up, and it's you know. It's the same thing Aaron Telitz has faced this year, where, you know, you know somebody to keep going, but when it's your dream, you're going to keep going.
Parker, I don't think enough people realize that, yeah, you're chasing the dream of being a professional race car driver, but you got to have a pretty savvy business background to make these deals work anymore here in motorsports.
100%. And when we watch Victor give that emotional interview, it almost makes me tear up, honestly, because I'm in a similar spot. I'm racing for my career in Pro Mazda. It's win it or don't be a race car driver. I need that Mazda scholarship in order to move up in Indy Lights. And unfortunately, I had a crash this weekend, and really no fault of my own. And you look at the bill that you get racked up at the end of this race. I mean, the next week before Mid-Ohio, I've got to go on more sponsors, so I know exactly how Victor feels. It's such a tough sport. It's got the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And if you look at any other sport in the world, most sports, teams will win half their games. Racing, you're lucky to win 1 or 2 races a year, let alone any. So there's a lot more lows than there is high. So my heart is out to Victor. I hope he can get back in the car for Mid-Ohio and continue his run. He definitely deserves to make it to IndyCar.
And as for Colton Herta, certainly going to take a big points hit today. He did yesterday as well. They did get that Andretti Steinbrenner machine back out of the racetrack to complete a couple more laps to pass Victor Franzoni to move into the 6th position. That'll gain him an extra point or 2. So good news for Herta is the hit won't be nearly as big. Meanwhile, on the track, we apologize for getting away from the action. Hasn't been a lot of change up front. The front 3 have been nose to tail, really kind of slugging it out as we work lap number 12. Jake Query, Santi Urrutia leads Pato O'Ward and Aaron Telitz out of turn number 2 down that back straightaway, heading to you here on lap number 12.
This is what we can watch now. O'Ward finds himself the meat, if you will, of that Velarde sandwich. Urrutia in front of him, but it's Aaron Telitz just behind him. Mark, Telitz had to lock him up a couple of times the last few times by. Got to wonder how that affects his handling, but O'Ward is out the push to pass, so it might be a good situation for Santi Urrutia.
Already setting up for turn number 7. Those front 3 are long gone. Ryan Norman all alone in that 4th position. It's going to be a pretty good weekend for him. Attrition had a lot to do with it, Nick, but he was able to get a podium finish yesterday. Talking about Ryan Norman, it's been a long time since he's had one. Have to go all the way back to race number 2 at St. Pete.
No doubt about it. Ryan Norman, he's just done a nice job all weekend, taking care of that automobile and making sure that he can bring it home with a solid position. Santi Urrutia leads lap number 12. The advantage for him is 1.0 seconds over Pato O'Ward, another 1.6 seconds back to Aaron Telitz, as those three really all separated by just a handful of car lengths. Urrutia, though, Jake, as you talked to me, that's a big advantage to have that push to pass advantage over O'Ward.
And his advantage right now is 3 car lengths. Locks him up just a little bit. O'Ward is right there. Telitz trying to close in on O'Ward, but not able to close the gap right now.
Yeah, no question, the 5 of Santi Urrutia is starting to gain a little distance now. The same cannot be said for Pato O'Ward. I'm watching Aaron Telitz, and Nick, he is staying right in the tire tracks in an effort to grab that second spot.
Yeah, that driver from Wisconsin's done a fantastic job really just hounding the back of Pato O'Ward, putting him the meat in the sandwich there up front, as Urrutia is your leader. Pato O'Ward runs second, Aaron Telitz is third, Ryan Norman fourth, Dalton Kellett fifth here in Toronto, Colton Herta is sixth, Victor Franzoni is seventh. My name's Nick Yeoman. Excited to be joined by Steve Whittick from Trackside Online and Parker Thompson from Exclusive Autosport for Pro Mazda. And Parker, let's talk about, you mentioned the financial backing that you have to have. You have a really good team there in Exclusive Autosport, and certainly I know you've got some folks that you want to thank that give you the opportunity to drive.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, first off, thanks to Exclusive Autosport. I mean, I wouldn't be in Pro Mazda and have this awesome opportunity to compete on the Mazda Road Team if it wasn't for them. This weekend we've got Badlands Motorsports Resort, which is a very interesting track that's going to be put up just outside of Calgary, where I'm from, in Alberta, Canada. They're putting up a very nice resort and track, so that's exciting. And then Open Highway is also on board in Weyburn Energy. I can't thank my partners enough. As you know, Nick, it's an expensive sport. We wouldn't be able to compete if it wasn't for great partners behind us.
Yeah, awesome to see those folks supporting you this weekend. Steve Whittick, how about the folks at Trackside Online? What you guys been digging up this weekend? I know this is kind of a great weekend because you yourself are Canadian. I feel a little out of place here in the booth with you two, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, this is definitely my home race. As much as I've lived in Indiana and Indianapolis for almost half my life now, that's why I'm from just down the road in Kitchener-Waterloo area. Grew up going to this race, came to the first race in 1986. I think I missed a couple along the way, but it's been my home race, and it's definitely a special place for Canadian drivers to drive at too. It's amazing how supportive the fans are here for the Canadian driver. You got someone in this race like Dalton Kellett, who has, I think he told me he has 300 guests here this weekend, and you can't even walk around the grounds without seeing the teal and black K-line gear of his. I think it's a lot of family, a lot of fans, a lot of his former fellow students that he went to Queens with down the road.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm always blown away, and I've noticed that the last couple of years of all those teal shirts, a lot of Dalton Kellett supporters, so we're really excited and happy to see them out at the racetrack. Dalton's got that car in the 5th position right now as he continues to try to climb the ladder and race his way to the Verizon IndyCar Series. Had a chance, I know one of our guys talked to his father yesterday, who's really excited. Dalton's a guy with an engineering background, super sharp young man. Certainly no matter what his future is, whether it's in the car, out of the car, he's got a bright future.
Yeah, he went to Queens University, which is, it relates to maybe Harvard in the U.S., somewhere that I definitely would not have gone to.
Me too, man.
Yeah, and it wasn't just engineering physics, I believe. So, yeah, he just started a new partnership. I think it's called 1080 Education, STEM Education. Folks that will, they help them put together education programs for, I think, middle schoolers and high schoolers. And so he's just started that new partnership with them this weekend. And yeah, he's an awfully sharp guy. And I know, Parker, you've got a lot of supporters here this weekend too. How many guests did you have?
Well, we've had over 50 in the Thompson camp come out, family, friends, and a lot of sponsors here. You know, what makes the weekend special? You've got all the Canadian fans, and then not only the Canadian fans, you've got the people that support me in my race career financially. It's I'm sure Dalton feels the same way. Whenever you come home to Toronto, Canada, it's pretty unbelievable.
Santi Urrutia, your leader here in Indy Lights over Pato O'Ward and Aaron Telitz. That's the front three. Jake Wary, let's look in on that battle for the lead. No change of position, but boy, those two really can't get away from each other.
they've been essentially glued to one another the last few times by. But Urrutia Mark is starting to get a little bit of an advantage. As a matter of fact, let's call it 7 car lengths back to Pato O'Ward.
Yeah, tire wear starts to enter into the picture, I think, once we reach this point of the race. And as this continues to unfold, the battle between these three, we're going to find out who's maybe those Cooper tires with the most success. And it won't have the issues with Mother Nature yesterday, Nick, but certainly the last handful of laps, good result in this front three tightening up a bit.
Pushing towards the halfway point of this 35-lap event here at Exhibition Place. Rob Howden, I've got one half of the championship battle in Pro Mazda. I know you're standing by with the other half as we've got both of those rivals here on the Indy Lights broadcast.
Yeah, I got a couple of guys who have already won some races here in the Mazda Road to Indy. Of course, USF 2000 and Pro Mazda have already been on the racetrack today. I've got Rinus VK, the young Dutch driver last year, second place in USF 2000. You swept the weekend at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Got off to a great start. It hasn't been quite as good since. Rinus VK running for Juncos Racing. What a weekend in Toronto. 2 race wins to claw your way back in the championship chase.
Yeah, it was an amazing weekend. The car was great, and yeah, I think it was just a great pairing with the car. My 4th win this season, and also my 4th win on the street course. So yeah, just a great weekend, and I want to thank Team Juncos Racing for the great car.
One of the interesting things is people talk about this street course being kind of so treacherous. If you qualify on the pole, there's obviously a benefit there. There was so much action behind you all weekend long. All you had was clean racetrack up front. That must have been fun. A little more easy for you out on the racetrack today.
Yeah, it's a good confidence boost for you. Just only looking in your mirror, not looking at the tail of another car. So yeah, it helped, and it also gave me 2 extra points for the championship standings.
Can you talk about the momentum a little bit moving to Mid-Ohio? Do you feel like you're really comfortable moving forward?
Yeah, I'm really comfortable. I know the team and I are quick on Mid-Ohio, so I'm going to train hard in time off, and yeah, I'm just going for it, and I think my confidence is super high, and we just go for it even as hard as I went for it here.
Congrats on a great weekend.
Thank you.
Let's move over to Kyle Kirkwood. Kyle leading the points by a ton in USF 2000, trying to follow in the footsteps of your good buddy Oliver Askew, who won last year. Another tremendous weekend for you. You watched that race in USF 2000, and I kind of thought you'd sit behind Igor Fraga and relax a little bit, maybe not get too aggressive in terms of trying maybe a low percentage pass. You kept trying him on the outside of turn number 3, eventually able to get by. Was there any thought about finishing second, or were you going for another race win?
No, I mean, if I couldn't get around him, obviously I'm going to settle for the 2nd place, but we're going to try and win every race that we can. We're now 7 out of 9 wins, and fortunately in that race I was able to sneak by him going down the inside into 1, but I just couldn't get around him going into 3, like you said. It probably 6 or 7 laps where I tried going to the outside, and there was 1 lap I almost made a stick, but he was defending me very well.
Obviously heading into the Verizon IndyCar Series race a little later on, give us your insight on the track itself. Was it that hard on the outside line to get that grip when you transition from the pavement to the concrete in turn number 3?
Yeah, I mean, the concrete's got a lot less grip everywhere on this track, and you'll see a lot of passes down into 1, down into 3, but it's really hard to stick that outside pass going down into 3, so if you see those passes, just know whoever's doing it is a really good driver. But no, the track's really good right now. We're running really fast times. It's just the heat is a little bit more than it was yesterday in their qualifying, and it was wet earlier on in their qualifying. So yeah, they're gonna have to adjust the car a little bit, maybe go stiff or whatever to adjust for this heat. And I think it's gonna be a really good race.
Talking to Kyle Kirkwood, your point leader in USF 2000, running for Cape Motorsports. Does your mindset change at all? There's 5 races left to go, a triple header at Mid-Ohio, the double header season finale at Portland International Raceway. The championship's pretty much locked. I know you never want to say that, but are you already kind of looking forward to Pro Mazda next year?
Yeah, I am. You know, our mindset doesn't change, though. We're winning a lot of races, so we just need to keep what we're doing. Our focus stays the same, and hopefully we just keep doing what we're doing and with what we're doing right now. So, yeah, obviously we're looking forward to Pro Mazda next year. Most likely I'll end up with Cape Motorsports again, and I think all we need is 34 more points throughout the season to lock it down.
And congratulations on a great weekend.
Yeah, thank you so much.
2 names you guys need to know about, Nick Yeoman. Of course, Rinus VK and Kyle Kirkwood, great young drivers, along with the guy sitting beside you there, Parker Thompson. There is a lot of tremendous talent in this Mazda Road to Indy.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Santi Urrutia leads here in Indy Lights. We'll start with the USF 2000 conversation. Steve, I'll start with you. Kyle Kirkland, what an incredible season he's had. Been impressed with that young man?
Yes, very impressed with that young man. Yeah, I started asking him about, you know, how he looks after the championship and what he does, and you know, how he drives. He says from day one that he's going to stay aggressive and try to win as many races as he can. And he's stayed true to his word, and he isn't just one, you know, pulled a checker. He's come from back in the field a few times, and his racecraft is very, very good, and his pace is very, very good.
And in terms of Pro Mazda, no better person to ask than Mark Thompson. You and Renus VK, a good little championship battle now as we head towards the final stage of this season.
Yeah, it'll be good. Little Dutch versus Canada. It should be quite interesting. I know Renus is probably one of the strongest guys in the Pro Mazda. It'll just be really interesting. We've both never been to Portland or St. Louis at Gateway Motorsports, the Oval. So it's going to be interesting to see how we adapt to that. We've both been to Mid-Ohio. I got the best of them there last year, so Team Exclusive Autosport will be looking to do the same to them next race.
Are you excited to run in front of a lot of people out there at Gateway? Because I'm telling you, last year when we went back there for the first time with IndyCar and Indy Lights, the fan support was absolutely incredible. That's been a fantastic event.
Well, we can't wait as the Pro Mazda crew gets to go to Gateway Motorsports Park. It's going to be unbelievable. I'm excited to see all the fans we're talking about, Nick. That'll be awesome. It's always cool to see passionate Horizon IndyCar Series fans, and we'll see when we get there. I'll have to tell you when we finish up our race.
No doubt about it. Looking forward to it, and I'm really excited, Steve, to get back to Portland as well, which was a mainstay for so many years in open wheel racing here in North America, and finally going back to the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, I think that should be a really good marketplace for IndyCar. You know, at one point there were 2 races there, one in Vancouver, and one in Portland, and they were both very well attended. Anytime I watched on TV, I think I went out to Portland one time for the race, and it's in a very cool area of the city, right near the river, and it's going to be an interesting race. I think they made some changes to the track, widened it up a little bit since IndyCar's last been there, added a little bit more area for passing. So I think there's a good chance it'll be a good race, and it's a great race for fans to go to. It's one of those kind of flat tracks, and you can see quite a bit of it from a number of different areas. So it's actually should be a really good, fun track for the fans.
Really excited, looking forward to it, and certainly got a little business to take care of here in Toronto. 25 of 35, make that 24 of 35 laps complete here at Exhibition Place. Santi Urrutia is your leader. Pato O'Ward is second. Aaron Telitz third. Ryan Norman fourth. Dalton Kellett fifth. And out of the race in 6th position, Dave first, is Colton Herta, who's standing by with him on pit lane.
He's climbed out of the car many minutes ago, let's call it. Opportunity for you to calm down, collect your thoughts a little bit. This is no way that you wanted to end your Toronto weekend, I know that.
No, but yeah, I have to look out for the well-being of myself and yeah, I guess the future of my career. Obviously, Thumb's not doing too well, so we'll see what we can do. We got 2 weeks until Mid-Ohio, so sometime to heal up.
How much pain are you in with that left thumb?
Yeah, doing anything on a broken thumb isn't fun, so especially driving around here with all the bumps. Yeah, it's a tough weekend. It's really tough to be sitting here watching the race, but it's something you got to do.
Well, I think you've went about this in a very mature way and collected as many points as you can in a situation like this, knowing the big picture is ahead. You came in with the points lead. You leave here certainly in a deficit, but there's plenty of room to make up.
Yeah, I think we still have 3 race weekends, 5 races. So
Mid-Ohio weekend, Gateway, and then doubleheader at Ford.
Yeah, so plenty of time. As it looks right now, I think it's going to be like 20 points or something like that down, but I'll still be in second. So plenty of opportunity. There's could still have a bad weekend. Pata could have a bad weekend. So yeah, just focus on getting better and going after it at Mid-Ohio.
Do you, last thing, again, we're with Colton Herta, who is out of the car with the 6th place finish here. Do you even think next level here, a bigger picture about next year in 2019 and what this may or may not do to an IndyCar program for next year? Or do you just worry about right now trying to win the championship here at Indy Lights?
I think it'll be irrelevant for next year. I think 4 to 6 weeks time it'll be fully healed up, and so that'll be enough time to get into an IndyCar for winter testing.
Heal up. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thanks.
Colton Herta, yeah, he's down here. He'll come in, of course, with a points lead. He'll leave here with a second-place deficit.
Yep, as they run right now, Dave, it is an 18-point deficit for Colton Herta right now to Pato O'Ward, who runs second out on the racetrack with 9 laps to go here at Toronto. And Parker, it kind of just sounds like a guy who, and I'm sure you're in the same boat, kind of ready to put this weekend behind you, as it's been a rough one for Colton Herta.
Toronto is so interesting. It can bring the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. Last year for me, winning both of Exclusive Autosport's maiden victories on the Mazda Road to Indy. You come into this weekend, I thought this was going to be one of our best racetracks, and we leave here with two tough finishes. I'm sure Colton feels the same way. Luckily, I don't have a hand injury where he's going to have to heal that up, but at the same time, I think Colton's in a little bit different of a situation. I feel that Colton has proven himself enough on the Mazda Road team to attract the attention of some Verizon IndyCar Series team owners. And I had a nice little chat with him yesterday, and I think he's sitting pretty good for next year to get an opportunity to get behind the wheel of an IndyCar. So scholarship or not, I think he's confident. I think looking out for his well-being is the best thing that his crew could do right now, and I look forward to seeing his career move forward.
Steven, quickly, it doesn't help, or it doesn't hurt the fact that he's got the Steinbrenners backing him, which is certainly, I think, is going to be something to watch, because George Michael Steinbrenner has said he wants to go IndyCar racing at some point, wants to do it with Colton Herta as well.
Yeah, it does. It really helps to have someone backing you in your corner. It is, and George Michael has done a good job of trying to find sponsorship for him and trying to find sponsorship to keep the program moving forward. And I fully expect to see Colton in IndyCar next year. Where that is still to be determined, but I definitely think there'll be a shot for him.
Parker, have you ever dealt with a hand injury? I know for a lot of drivers, it's not uncommon to, you know, kind of jam the hands or the thumbs during an accident. How physically daunting must that be on a street course like Toronto?
Well, what's interesting, Nick, is I actually yesterday in my incident kept my hands on the wheel. I didn't even know that I was getting driven into, and the wheel snapped and it ripped my thumb. Luckily, I didn't have a break or anything, but I know IndyCar Medical checked me out. I definitely say I would have a sprain, so nowhere to the near extent that Colton has had to deal with this weekend, but I had to go out there and drive. And it was tough. I mean, this street course is so bumpy. If you had any problems with your hand, like Colton had, it is extremely tough to get around here and hold that wheel. I don't think fans at home sitting there, you know, when you say you drive your street car to work with power steering, right. It's a little bit different when you get behind the wheel of an Indy Lights or an Indy car. These guys have to be in really good shape in order to finish out these races, let alone have a broken hand. So I think Colton's doing what's best for him. I know I, a couple years ago, did have a broken thumb, just like Colton, and to drive with one hand is near impossible. I mean, as you can imagine, you've got paddles on both sides. You need two hands in order to shift up and down. So what Colton did yesterday to hang on to it as long as he did was pretty unbelievable. I think it's a smart idea for him to rest that up today. There's no sense wrecking his hand more than it already is injured. And like he said, he's got 3 races left. There's plenty of opportunity in this Indy Lights Championship.
6 laps to go here at Toronto. Jake Query, the leader's making their way by you right now in turn 3. Give us a sense of kind of how that battle has shaken out up front over the last 5 or 10 laps.
Still Urrutia, O'Ward, and Aaron Telitz, but Mark, as they clear through here, it looks like perhaps O'Ward is closing in on Urrutia. The question is, does he have enough time here in the remainder of this race?
Yeah, the deficit between those 3 has not changed much. It widened out about 2 laps ago, but it's starting to tighten up again. So again, Nick, with just a handful of laps left, it's going to be interesting to see how much Pato O'Ward pushes it, knowing the advantage that he already has over Colton Herta in the championship chase.
Across the start-finish line, 5 to go for Santi Urrutia. Rob Houghton, his car owner Brian Velarde, poised, if nothing changes here in the last 5 laps, to bring home a couple more trophies.
And Nick, this team, no stranger to victory lane here in Toronto. They've done it before with Felix Rosenquist, with Alex Barron. You know, a little bit, maybe a mindset change for Santi Urrutia. It seems like he came into this weekend a little more relaxed than he was after the race at Iowa Speedway. Did you notice that, though, with Santi?
We did. We actually had several conversations with him about that. Just his whole attitude in general. He's done a fantastic job. He's done exactly what we've asked him to do. The team's given him a great car. He's in a great rhythm right now, so we're really proud of him.
It seems like you guys have been fast all weekend long. It's just like you guys have always kind of had a handle on this race. Like, it's so tough to transition from pavement to concrete. But your engineering staff has done a really good job to build a solid platform for this race car.
Yeah, no, the They have done a great job, constantly trying to improve the car throughout the course of the whole weekend. It's a ridiculously bumpy, hard track, so it's obviously very difficult on the drivers. So it's, you know, once you get in that rhythm, you just got to keep pushing. And, you know, I think we're in that right now.
Santi's obviously quite a bit back in the points, still in third. This is going to allow him to claw back a bit, leading Pato Award. What are your thoughts on a potential run for the championship? You know, Santi's a veteran driver. He can easily get the job done, I think, and really go on to the streak.
Yeah, well, that's our goal. I mean, we got to get one before we can get two right now. Just the mindset of just keep moving forward. Let's try and get one here today, finish this one off, and go to Mid-Ohio, where it's typically been strong as well, and see what we can do.
Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Nick Yeoman, you heard the little football reference there. He knows it's like grabbing that first down, right? You got to get a couple downs before you get that first down, and a win here in Toronto would certainly move the pegs a little bit for our recovery.
That's right. Got to keep moving the chains and scratch and claw your way back to the championship. We heard Santi Urrutia after qualifying this morning, Steve. He said he's kind of approaching a little bit better, a little bit differently. He had more of an upbeat attitude this weekend. He's a guy that I know historically can get down on himself when weekends aren't going his way. Kind of changed the attitude this weekend, and boy, it seems to be paying off.
Yeah, it really does. I talked to him after yesterday's race, where he had a very interesting race, dropped down to 7, you know, clawed his way back up, made it up to 2nd, and then made a mistake and spun. And yeah, he was mad at himself for making a mistake, but he said he had fun out there, and I think that's something that, you know, you need to do as a race car driver. I know it's not easy because there's so much pressure on these young drivers to perform and to win races and to move up, keep moving up to the next level. But I think sometimes they forget that they still need to try and have some fun and just take it a little bit lightly. You know, it's not I know it's not easy to do, but it seems to be paying off for Santi this weekend. He's driven as well as he's driven all year, and the new attitude seems to have worked well.
Parker, do you find finding that balanced stuff, because as we talked about earlier, this is your life, this is what you're going for, this is your future, but at the same time you got to enjoy it because this is a pretty cool sport that you chose?
Well, I think I could definitely take a few notes out of Santi's book this weekend. It looks like relieving some stress from him has done him some good, and I think I need that as well. Like Steve had mentioned, we're fighting for our careers. If some of us, if we don't win, we're not moving up, and we're possibly not even racing next year. So it's really tough. You've got all this weight on you, but at the same time, we usually perform best when we have no pressure and we're out there having fun and enjoying what we do for our lives. So hopefully Mid-Ohio, I change my approach a little bit, and we just go for having fun and having wins.
Santi Urrutia, your leader here in Toronto. He has absolutely dominated this event. His advantage over Pato Award the last time across the start-finish line was 2.4 seconds. As once Pato Award used up all that push to pass extra horsepower, he just hasn't been able to contend with Urrutia. Made a couple tries in turn 3 early in this race, but just wasn't able to work around Santi Urrutia. So Award is sent back in the 2nd spot. Aaron Tielitz is 3rd. Meanwhile, Urrutia back out of the front straightaway. He will see the white flag here at Exhibition Place. Brought that car home in 2nd yesterday. He does have one lap car of Dalton Kellett to deal with on this final lap, Jake Query, but Santi Urrutia poised for a big victory headed to turn 3 for the final time.
His home country of Uruguay was one of the feel-good stories of this year's World Cup. They were eliminated in the quarterfinals by France, who wins today. Santi Urrutia wants to win for Uruguay today. He's on his way, Mark James. He's got to be clean for another half lap.
Looking for his 3rd straight podium finish off a 2nd place yesterday and a 3rd place at Iowa. Santi Urrutia tried to do all he can to stay, Nick Yeoman, in that championship chase.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Let's not just hand the championship over to the Andretti teammates of Pato Award or Colton or Herta. Santi Urrutia certainly making a big statement as he may close within 40 points of Pato Award when this one's all said and done. Out of turn number 11, here comes the driver from Uruguay. It's Santi Urrutia who will see the checkered flag. He'll score the victory in the Cooper Tires Indy Lights Grand Prix of Toronto, presented by Allied Building Products. Urrutia gets the win here in Toronto. Pato Award finishes in the 2nd spot Aaron Telitz comes home third, Steve, as we get to see the Belardi team celebrate down there on pit lane. This has been an interesting year for them. Brian Belardi and the groups there in red, and they get to celebrate a win here in Toronto.
Yeah, they've lost a little bit of their pace this year. Andretti's had a little bit more pace than they have. And I know that's, I know Brian Belardi is pushing his engineers to try and find it a little bit more speed for him. But it was really cool to see how excited the team was there. And also there was a lot of Uruguayan fans down there in turn 1 waving the Uruguayan flag and number 5 flag.
Was that what that was? I wondered, because there were quite a few folks down there in turn 1 celebrating. That's a cool sight to see. And Parker, as you talked about, you know, you scored victories in Pro Mazda, USF 2000. I mean, this is it's a big deal for Santi Urrutia. And while maybe Pato O'Ward and Colton Herta have stolen all the headlines, probably a mistake for NES to put dirt on his championship hopes, as Santi Urrutia we're talking about.
Well, look at Santi's last couple seasons. He always makes this late season charge.
Yeah.
And when he gets in rhythm, I would argue that there's not another driver in the field that can stop him. Toronto's one of the toughest tracks that we visit on the Mazda Road to Indy for the Indy Lights guys. And Santi just drove away. I mean, he drove off in the sunset today. So those Belardi guys have probably got that car figured out for him. And I wouldn't be surprised if he makes a late race and a late championship charge.
As we wait to hear from some of the competitors, Parker, some final thoughts, some folks you want to thank that obviously give you a great opportunity there with the Exclusive Autosport.
Well, first off, Nick, I got to thank you for having me on this broadcast.
Of course.
It's always amazing to be on here talking to the fans at home and also talking about the Indy Lights guys. This was a great race today, but huge thanks to Exclusive Autosport. Like I said again, I wouldn't be able to compete on the Mazda Road to Indy if it wasn't for that team. Thanks to Badlands Motorsports Resort, Weyburn Energy, and Open Highway. And thank you to the Mazda Road to Indy and Cooper Tires. I mean, you look at Santi, you look at all these guys that are competing on the Mazda Road to Indy. The reason we're competing for our careers is because Mazda and Cooper Tires are putting up the money for us to move up.
He was smiling big here in victory lane yesterday after a second place finish, but smiling a little bit bigger today after the win. Santi Urrutia, congratulations, you've won in Toronto.
Oh yeah, finally. We've been looking this win for a long time. Definitely happy for the team, happy for everyone. We've been working hard. It's been a tough season, so yeah. I gotta say thank you to Belardi. You gave me a great car today. We dominated the race. Mazda, Cooper Tires, all my sponsors from Uruguay, everyone helped me to be here. It's a great weekend and still 5 races to go, you know? So we're coming. We gotta win races. We're gonna be fine on championship.
This is a physical racetrack. What was the toughest part about getting the win done today in Toronto?
I actually had lunch before the race because I'm so hungry right now. So it was tough out there. It's so super hot. So we have lunch the next time we came here before I would get lunch, but yeah, it's a fun race.
All right, well, we'll go get you some pizza. Congratulations. Santi Urrutia, you're winner of race 2 today here in Toronto.